Ahead of the Nintendo Switch 2 release on June 5th, EB Games has announced a series of midnight and breakfast launches across select Australian stores. But there's a catch. Access is locked behind a so-called FastPass system. Only customers trading in their current Switch console or those paying $49 for an EB World Plus membership will be able to attend the launch. At least, that's what they're saying according to the marketing. But after obtaining a leaked internal memo from an EB Games staff member and confirming its authenticity, I can tell you that this isn't the whole story. It's a misleading tactic designed to pressure fans into paying for access to something that used to be free. Let's break down what's really going on and why the community is right to feel frustrated. EB Games hyped up the Switch 2 midnight launch with their marketing push that many found outrageous and frankly, out of touch. The catch? Only customers who trade their Switch 1 hardware within the next 2 weeks or members of their EB World Plus program would get access to information about these launches. At first, I honestly thought it was an April Fool's joke, as it felt so disconnected from what midnight launches have always represented. A celebration open to all fans, not just those willing to pay extra. Just a few weeks ago, I wrote about the magic of midnight launches and how they used to bring the community together in celebration, turning game releases into a shared cultural moment. It was a nostalgic look back at the time when showing up at midnight was about excitement, not exclusivity. The latest move from EB Games feels like the exact opposite of that spirit, and it's disappointing to see how far things have shifted. I've obtained an anonymous screenshot from an EB Games point-of-sale system containing an internal staff memo about the midnight launch policy. According to the memo, staff won't turn customers away if they don't have EB World Plus and haven't traded a console, but those customers simply won't receive any information about the event. This approach just feels like a deceptive way of luring customers into signing up for a program they don't necessarily need. Rather than being upfront and inclusive, EB Games is quietly withholding information to create a false sense of exclusivity and to nudge fans towards paying for a membership out of fear of missing out. It's a disappointing move that suggests EB Games cares more about pushing subscriptions than preserving the community spirit that midnight launches have always fostered, as well as looking after the very customers who manage to keep them in business. The memo reads like this. Fast passes are not a physical item, but customers who meet the criteria will be sent information about attending the midnight and/or breakfast launch between the end of trade NATO, Sunday, May 25th, and launch. Please note, if a customer that has not technically unlocked a FastPass shows up to either your midnight or breakfast launch, you should still help them and give them a great experience nonetheless. We just won't be proactively sending them information prior to the launch. This paywall is the latest in a series of stumbles by EB Games with their EB World Plus program. When the subscription launched, it was widely panned by the community, seen as a cash grab in a cost of living crisis rather than a genuine value proposition. Then came the infamous voucher blunder days later, where some users were mistakenly sent $120 worth of vouchers, only for EB Games to retract the offer soon after, leaving many frustrated and confused. Adding to that frustration, EB Games are now using the program to lock Pokemon TCG pre-order opportunities behind that paywall, sparking complaints from fans who felt excluded from popular and time-sensitive products. That said, it's only fair to acknowledge that EB World Plus does offer some genuine benefits, discounts, early access to certain sales, and occasional exclusive content that can be valuable to the right customers. The issue isn't really with the program itself, but how it's being used to gate experiences that were once open to all. Each of these moments chipped away at the goodwill and trust that EB Games had built. Now, paywalling midnight launches and pre-orders feels like another step away from the fans, not towards them. As mentioned in my previous article, I loved hosting midnight launches during my years at EB Games. They weren't just about getting a game before anyone else, They were about the joy of anticipation, the camaraderie of waiting alongside fellow fans, and the simple thrill of just sharing a moment in gaming history. I still remember those amazing nights waiting for Skyrim, Battlefield 3, and Call of Duty when gamers across the country were united in celebration. Those evenings were about more than just a game release, they were about community. Now, EB Games seems intent on trying to turn that magic into a product, to be sold rather than shared. They publicly insist that you need to pay for access to these midnight launches while internally telling staff not to turn anyone away. This disconnect is confusing and, to be honest, disheartening. It's a shame to see something so pure turned into a paywalled experience, leaving many people feeling like they're no longer a part of the party. And it's also hard not to notice how much EB Games has shifted away from what once made it special. These days, walking into a store feels less like stepping into a gaming hub and more like browsing a toy and merch outlet. Games, once the beating heart of the store, are now pushed all the way to the back, while shelves overflow with plushies, keyrings, caps, and socks. Staff are also hammering you with tumblers and socks at checkouts, offering discounted accessories once you hit a certain spend. It's a subtle but telling shift, and in that context, paywalling midnight launches starts to feel like a part of a larger pattern, where the soul of gaming retail is quietly being sold off, piece by piece. EB Games is currently at a crossroads. The decisions they make now will define how they're remembered, not just as a retailer, but as that community hub for gamers, as the place that gamers would love to work, or even where you would go to chat with fellow gamers who share that love of gaming that you do. These days, it's a never-ending stream of having KPIs shoved down your throat when you're at the checkout, and now this. Paywalling midnight launches and exclusive pre-orders risk alienating the very fans who have supported EB Games for decades. It undermines the sense of community and shared excitement that made these events special in the first place. That same community, the passionate staff, and gamers like myself who had helped foster it. With late nights, Nerf gun ranges, and just a genuine love and excitement in sharing the anticipation of the next big thing. If EB Games wants to rebuild trust, it'll need to remember what midnight launches are truly about, bringing gamers together to celebrate, not putting a price tag on access. It's really a question that shouldn't have to be asked. Are midnight launches for everyone, or for a privileged few who pay a little bit extra for access? Because, at the end of the day, I thought gaming was for all of us. Thanks so much for watching my video. If you liked it, the best way you can support What's It Like is by liking, subscribing, and sharing it with your friends. For more reviews, click on the thumbnails to the right, and for everything Nintendo, check out whatsitlike.com.au.